Isaiah chapter 20, sign of nakedness. In the year that Tartan came to Ashdod, when Sargon the king of Assyria sent him, and he fought against Ashdod and captured it, at that time Adonai spoke by Isaiah, the son of Amos, saying, Go, remove the sackcloth from your loins and your sandals from your feet. So he did so, walking naked and barefoot. Then Adonai said, Just as my servant Isaiah has walked naked and barefoot for 3 years as a sign and wonder against Egypt and Ethiopia, so will the king of Assyria lead away the captives of Egypt and the exiles of Ethiopia, young and old, naked and barefoot, with their buttocks uncovered, to Egypt's shame. So they will be dismayed and ashamed because they hoped in Ethiopia and boasted in Egypt. Then the inhabitants of the coastland will say in that day, Look, such is our hope. There we fled for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria. Now how will we escape? Isaiah chapter 21. Watchmen, pay attention. The burden of the desert by the sea is windstorms sleep over the south, so it comes from the desert, a terrifying land. A harsh vision that has been shown to me, the traitors betrays and the plunderer plunders. Go up, Elam, besiege Media. I have put an end to all her groaning. Therefore my body is filled with pain. Pangs have taken a hold of me like the pangs of a woman in labor. I am bewildered by what I hear, terrified by what I see. My heart is bewildered. Terror overwhelms me. The twilight I longed for has been turned into trembling. Set up the table. Spread out the cloth, eat, drink, rise up, you princes, oil the shield. For Adonai has said to me, Go, post a watchman, let him declare what he sees. When he sees a chariot with a pair of horsemen, riders on donkeys, riders on camels, let him pay attention, very close attention. Then he cried out like a lion. Upon the watchtower, Adonai, I stand continually in the daytime, and stay at my post every night. Look, here comes a chariot of men with a pair of horsemen. Then one answered and said, Fallen, fallen is Babylon, all the images of her gods are broken on the ground. O my people, crushed on the threshing floor, what I heard from Adonai Zavat, God of Israel, I have declared to you. The burden of Duma. One calls to me from Seir, Watchman, what is left of the night? Watchman, what is left of the night? The watchman said, Morning comes, yet also it is night. If you would inquire, come back again. The burden of Arabia. In the desert brush of Arabia you will stay for the night, you caravans of Dedanites. To him who is thirsty bring water, inhabitants of the land of Tema. Meet with fugitives with food, for they fled from swords, from drawn sword, from bent bow, and distress of war. For thus Adonai said to me, Within a year, as with the year of the hired worker, all the glory of Kedar will cease, and the remainder of the number of the archers, the mighty men of the sons of Kedar, will be few, for Adonai, God of Israel, has spoken. Isaiah chapter 22, vision of Jerusalem's catastrophe. The burden of the valley of vision, what is the matter with you now? For you have gone up to the rooftops. You were full of noise, a boisterous city, an exultant town. Your dead were not slain with a sword, nor dead in battle. All your rulers have fled together, then captured without a bow. All who were caught were taken into exile together, that they had fled far off. Therefore I said, Look away from me, let me weep bitterly. Don't try to comfort me about the ruin of the daughter of my people. For my Lord Adonai Zavat has a day of panic, trampling and confusion in the valley of vision, of tearing down a wall, a catastrophe on the mountain. Elam took up the quiver with chariots of men and horsemen, and Kern covered the shield. So it will come to pass that your choicest valleys will be full of chariots and horsemen posted at the gate. So he will expose Judah's defense, and in that day you will look for the armor in the forest house. Then you will see the breaches in the walls of the city of David, for they will be many. Though you collect the water of the lower pool, though you counted the houses of Jerusalem, you broke down the houses to fortify the wall, you even made a reservoir between the two walls for the water of the old pool, but you did not look to the Maker or consider the one who planned it long before. Now in that day Adonai Elohi will call for weeping and wailing, for baldness and putting on sackcloth, but instead there is joy and gladness, slaughtering cattle and killing sheep, meat and drinking wine. Let's eat and drink, for tomorrow we will die. But Adonai Zavat revealed in my ears, Surely this sin will not be atoned for until you die, says my Lord Adonai Zavat. Thus says my Lord Adonai Zavat, Go, say to the steward, to Shebna, who is over the house, What are you doing here, and who are you going to be here? Who are you to be here? That you cut out a grave for yourself, carving out a tomb on the height rock. Cut out a tomb on the height, chiseling a crypt for yourself in the rock. Behold, a strong man, Adonai, is about to hurl you headlong and seize you firmly. He will roll up tightly and toss you like a ball into the large country. There you will die, and your glorious chariots will be the shame of your master's house. I will remove you of your master's house. I will remove you from your post and pull you down from your station. In that day I will summon My servant Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, I will clothe him in your robe and fasten your sash on him. I will give you authority into his hand, so he will be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. I will set the key of the house of David upon his shoulder. What he opens, no one can shut. What he shuts, no one can open. I will fasten him as a peg in a firm place, and he will be a throne of honor to his father's house. They will hang all the glory of his father's house on him, offspring and posterity, all the small vessels from bowls to all the jars. In that day, says Adonai Zavat, the peg that was fastened in a firm place will give way, break away, and fall, and the load that was on it will be cut off, for Adonai has spoken. Chapter 20, Isaiah 23, shaking Tyre and Sidon. The burden of Tyre. Wail, ships, Tarshish, for Tyre is destroyed. Wail, ships of Tarshish, for Tyre is destroyed. There is no house and no harbor. From the land of Cyprus it was revealed to them. Be still, inhabitants of the coastland, you merchants of Sidon, your messengers crossing the sea. On many waters, the grain of Shihor, the harvest of the Nile, was her revenue, and a marketplace of nations. Be ashamed, O Sidon, for the sea has spoken. The stronghold of the sea, saying, I have not writhed or given birth. I have not reared young men or brought up maidens. When the report reaches Egypt, they will be anguished at the report about Tyre. Cross over to Tarshish. Wail, you inhabitants of the island. Is this your jubilant city, whose iniquity is from long ago, whose feet have taken her to settle off in far lands, who planned against Tyre, the crowning city, whose merchants were princes, whose traders were honored of earth? Adonai Zavat has planned it, to defile the pride of all glory, to shame all the honored of earth, overflow through your land like the Nile. O daughter of Tarshish, there is no restraint any more. His hand is stretched out over the sea. He has shaken the kingdoms. Adonai has given a commandment concerning Canaan, to destroy its strongholds. He said, You will exult no more, O crushed virgin daughter of Zidon. Arise, cross over to Cyprus, even there you will have no rest. Look, the land of the Chaldeans, this is the people who no longer exist. Assyria set it up for desert animals. They set up their siege towers. They stripped its palaces. They made it a ruin. Wail, you ships of Tarshish, for your stronghold is destroyed. Then it will come about in that day that Tyre will be forgotten for 70 years, like the days of one king. At the end of 70 years, it will happen to Tyre, just as this in the song of a prostitute. Take a harp, stroll about the city, forgotten harlot. Skillfully play many songs, so you may be remembered. Then it will come about, after the end of the 70 years, that Adonai will take note of Tyre. She will return to her trade, and will prostitute herself with all the kingdoms of the world and the face of the earth. Yet her profit and her wages will be set apart to Adonai. They will not be stored up or boarded, for her profit will be for those who dwell in the presence of Adonai, as ample food and as fine clothing. Isaiah chapter 24, the curse of the empty land. Behold, Adonai makes the land empty and makes it waste, twists its face and scatters its inhabitants. So it shall be as with the people, so with the Kohen, as with the servant, so with the master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land will be utterly emptied and totally plundered, for Adonai has spoken this word. The land of the fades away, the world wilts and fades away, the exalted people of the earth wilt. Land is polluted by its inhabitants, for they have transgressed Torah, violated statutes, and broke the everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse will devour the land. Those dwelling there are found guilty. Therefore the inhabitants of the land will be burned up, so the people remaining are few. The new wine fails, the vine wilts, all the merry-hearted sigh, the glee of tambourine stops, the noise of revelers ends, the joy of the harp ceases. They no longer drink wine with song. Liquor is bitter to those drinking it. They shatter the city in chaos. Every house is shut up, none may enter. In the streets is an outcry for wine. All joy becomes dark as evening. The mirth of the land is banished. The city is left in ruins. The gate is battered down. Last day's judgments. So will it be the earth and among the nations, as with the shaking of an olive tree, or as with the gleanings that are left after the grape harvest. They will raise their voices. They will sing for joy of the majesty of Adonai. They shout from the seas. Therefore glorify Adonai in the east, the name of Adonai, the God of Israel, in the isles of the sea. From the ends of the earth we have heard songs. Glory to the righteous. But I say, I waste away, I waste away. Oi to me, traitors betray. With treachery, traitors betray. Panic, pit, and trap are upon you, O inhabitant of the earth, and it shall come to pass. Whoever flees from the sound of panic will fall in the pit, and whoever climbs out of the pit will be caught in the trap. For the windows of heaven are open, and the foundations of the earth shake. The earth is broken apart, the earth is split open, the earth is shaken utterly, the earth reels to and fro like a drunk and sways like a hut. Its transgression is so heavy upon it that it will fall and never rise again. It will come about in that day, and I will punish the hosts of heaven on high, and the kings of the earth on the earth. They will be gathered together like prisoners in the pit, and will be shut up in the prison, and after many days be punished. And the moon will be abashed, and the sun ashamed, for Adonai Zavat will reign on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his elders gloriously.